Let's go.
YouTube, what is up? We are back with another day, and we are out of the basement. We have officially moved into our brand new humble abode here. We got a little studio 5 minutes down the road from where my old place was, so still pretty close to the gym. We still got the final touches coming here. We got to get a new couch. We got to get a desk into this corner, but everything else is kind of shaping up. We're gonna make a little work corner over here. We got all of our softball gear over there, and it should lead to a pretty electric contact factory, which I'm pretty excited for. Going to be doing much more videos out of here, making some coaching corners, doing some cooking tips, but also I'm going to be trying something new with these YouTube videos, at least for this next week when we're traveling to Colorado, is going to go a little bit more vlog style for you. I've been wanting to tie in a lot of the softball stuff with the lifting stuff and kind of piece it together a little bit better. I feel like they're kind of two separate things right now. Not even two separate things. I just feel like I haven't been including the softball stuff, which I feel like is a big part of what I do and why I train. And honestly, the thing that I'm best at physically and the thing I personally enjoy the most doing. And not having those in these videos, which are supposed to be authentic videos of what we're doing with life, doesn't make much sense. And I think a lot of it has just been, I've been scared to admit that I want to become a professional softball player. It sounds so stupid. It sounds so silly. I know it's a stupid goal in the sense of there's no true monetary value there. There's no true respect to there. Nobody really gives a fuck if you play professional softball or not. But softball is something that makes me happy. Softball is something that I enjoy doing and I enjoy getting better at and I put a lot of time into. And I think we all have fucking weird hobbies. And I think the more we shy away from those weird hobbies and actually want to become good at those weird hobbies and pursuing those weird hobbies, the less true versions of ourselves we get out there. So with this little training to become a pro softball player series, it's going to be the same setup. I think I'm just going to include a little bit more softball stuff, a little bit more cooking stuff, a little bit more in the life of moments, especially now that we have our own space and our own creative spot to do it. And I'm hoping the videos are just a little more organic and a little less lifting is all that I do, which is it's still a big part of what I do. But if anything, it'll just be a fun little series to record this weekend, this trip to Colorado. And kind of got it all mapped out. We don't have any softball content today. So we just finished up session today. We're going to go lift right now. We had a couple Greek yogurts for breakfast. Then we got to go pick up intern Henry. We are going to give him the car and the keys to the gym. He's going to drop me off at the airport. I'm going to go edit some videos on the airport, hop on a plane to Colorado. Girlfriend's going to pick me up into Colorado and we're going to go to bed. So no BP or softball content tonight, but we are traveling for softball. Then tomorrow we got another lift and we got a camping session. Wednesday will be our first BP of the week. We'll do some T work on Wednesday. We'll hit a lift on Wednesday. Thursday is going to be the derby and we'll hit a lift on that day and hopefully get a BP with Jock or one of my other buddies out in Colorado. I just messaged them to see if they're going to be in Colorado when I'm there for the softball tournament. Hopefully we get that done on Thursday. Still haven't decided if I'm going to include just the highlights of the swing. Like my original thought process is include highlights of the swing and just a little bit of the talk about the swings and the tournaments in these videos, and then have separate videos for the big BP videos where we're diving into content there, just so the videos don't end up being 4 hours long and the specific softball content can be a little bit separate. But we'll include the highlights there, get a lift in that day, talk about the derby and how the derby goes. Hopefully we win it. That'd be sickening. And then Friday, we start the men's tournament. We start and finish the men's tournament on Friday. Saturday, Sunday's co-ed. We have Rufus concert on Saturday, so that'd be pretty sickening. And then we fly back Monday and we start the journey all over again. So without further ado, let's go get this lift done and let's get after it. All right, we're at the gym. We got 6 sets of 2. Block snatches just from above the knees here. We're building up to like 185, 190-ish for those 6 sets of 2. If we're feeling like we're cooking after, we'll build up to something heavier after just because I haven't done a block snatch this high in a while. Otherwise, we'll count out the 6 sets of 2, keep going. From there, we got some cleans, then we got some squats, then we got some core. Should be a pretty simple day. Body, a typical weekend, but body's feeling it from this freaking weekend of playing outfield. We won Hanover Worlds, a little small town but aggressive tournament, man. This past weekend, it started at 10 a.m. We started BP at 8 a.m. and we played, our championship game was at 1 a.m. It ended at 1:05 a.m. We went undefeated throughout the day, then we lost to a team in the first game of the ship. And they kind of took it to us. We tend to run them we won 22-20 the first game we played them. They put up 15 in an inning. in the second game and the first game of the ship. And I think they ended up beating us by maybe like 9 or 10 in the second game. And then the third game, we started off scoring 17 in the first, and they battled their way back a little bit. We ended up 10 running them for the championship at 1 a.m. And we had the entire town of Hanover screaming at us for being losers, for coming to play that tournament and beating their hometown team. And they were not huge fans of us, but it was a super fun tournament. But the body is beat up from it. We had to go pick up Henry and then hop on this flight in a little over an hour. So we kind of rushed through this. We're not going to be able to get any jumps or sprints done today. But honestly, my left hamstring's feeling a little tight from this weekend, so not the end of the world there. Hopefully it's feeling a little bit better tomorrow and we can get after some of that stuff. But we got these snatches first. Let's go. All right, warm-up's done. Now we got 6 sets of 2 at 190 here from this high pull. The high pull feels a little goofy. Like I'm not able to get that acceleration. Like I have to do it much quicker and just kind of yank and go rather than feeling that acceleration, but I kind of like this. I struggle at these, which is kind of weird. You'd think these would be the one that I'm good at, so maybe it's just a thought process thing or maybe it's a weakness that I need to develop. But either way, we got 6 sets of 2 of them, so we're going to get a ton of snatch work done today at a decently heavy weight here. Before we get to the 6 sets, I was asked a question, tips for athletes who perform at a higher body fat percentage, how much does it matter in your opinion? And I think just being a naturally bigger human being, or especially being in a sport that requires you, in quotations, to be a naturally bigger human being, something like a heavyweight wrestler, but more specifically like offensive defensive lineman, this is where I really think these struggles and these thought processes come into play, is just because you're big does not mean you're strong. And mass doesn't move mass unless you actually move mass. You have to become strong as fuck still, even though you're big. I think in the world of this anti-meathead approach, in the just stay healthy approach, we have a lot of bigs that come into the gym that are actually weak as fuck. And they kind of just like they kind of just lie to themselves like, I'm strong because I'm big. And it's like, just being big has nothing to do with actually being strong. Just because people shun on being a meathead doesn't mean you shouldn't maximize your strength, right? Like, if you are a big human being, you're an offensive and defensive lineman, you need to strive to be one of the strongest people in the gym because that is your tool that you were given. That is the body type you were given, and you need to maximize that. And I just see so many big guys that are just big and not very strong. They just continually get bigger through college without getting stronger. I'm like, that doesn't do you any good. Just putting on size doesn't naturally make you stronger. It allows your capacity to be stronger, to grow. But if you don't do anything with that capacity, if you don't actually train that capacity, if you don't actually push that capacity, it doesn't do you any good. And on the other side of things, while we're raising our ceiling of strength and while we're maximizing and sharpening the tool that we're best at, we also need to bring up our basement. And we have no excuse to move like shit just because we're big. Moving better is never a negative. And just because you don't like doing something because you're not good at it doesn't mean that you need to avoid or skip those things. And I think a lot of bigs don't like the movement-based stuff. They don't like the sprinting. They don't like the jumping, because it's not things they win at. Whereas when they come into the weight room, a lot of times they'll win in the weight room. And part of that falls on a coach to find ways for the bigs to win in a lot of this movement stuff. So whether it's just a category of like a 200 plus metric or a 250 plus metric, whatever you want to set that weight limit at, where they're competing with other bigs. But you need the sprints, you need the jump, and you need to be exploring some of these movement patterns that are going to make you a better athlete and raise the basement, right? So we're raising the ceiling of our strength, raising the basement of your movement qualities. And you do those two things together and you're going to become quite a freaky athlete regardless of your body fat percentage. And the last piece of advice I have for you is stop giving yourself the excuse to eat the fucking Oreos just because your coach said you needed to put on size. Having to be bigger for your sport doesn't mean looking like a lard for your sport. If you look at these offensive linemen in the NFL, those dudes are fucking monsters, dude. You would look at them and you're like, holy shit, that dude scares me. And then you have these college guys put on 60 pounds of fat in an off season and claim that they were grinding and doing their job of becoming bigger when like they were just eating Oreos and drinking a 12 pack of beer. And again, if you're doing those things and training hard and eating good, on top of that, you do whatever you have to do to get those calories and be big. I just think it kind of becomes an excuse to be fat and out of shape because your sport requires you or because your coach told you to put on weight. And that's not really what your coach is saying. Your coach is saying you need to be fucking stronger on the field. You need to hold your ground better on the field. That's what they're saying when they say you're not big enough, you need to put on size. They're not saying go look like a lard nugget next time you come into camp after this summer off season. So mass doesn't move mass unless you actually move mass. You still got to train like an athlete because you are an athlete, even if you are an athlete at a higher body fat percentage, and you need to find ways to make that to gamify that so it's interesting and fun for the athletes and for yourself if you are one of those bigger athletes. And you should still eat and feel like an athlete, not like a fucking washed up softball player, right? So let's get these snatches, let's go. Ooh. Ooh. Oh yeah, those are fucking hard, man. 5 more sets, let's go. And on that whole higher body fat percentage thing, I think us as coaches really come down to fault as that because so many coaches value weights as like this big metric of did your training program work? Did you work hard in the off season? And obviously the fancy colleges are much better with this. They're doing body fat percentage. They're actually looking at force plate numbers, tracking all the strength numbers, everything like that. It is not really applicable to like the big Division I colleges, but I know a ton of Division III colleges where they're not with them all off season, not with them in the summer. Everything's voluntary. And the big thing that they measure when they come back to camp is weights. You step on a scale. I knew kids in college that were sneaking 5-pound, 10-pound dumbbells into their pants to go weigh in on weigh day because the coaches valued it that much and valued that number that much. And it's such a stupid and silly metric. And one of the things that I brought to the strength coaches, to the football coaches when I was at St. Thomas, where they were valuing this weight number so much, I was asking, who are the top 5 players at each position? And we went through the top 5 players at each position for the last 10 years that those coaches had been there. And very rarely did weight have any correlation to that player being a top 5 player. If you get let's say a top 5 offense or defensive lineman, and you have them add 10 pounds of muscle, yes, that's going to be beneficial. But just telling some kid that's not starting and already bad at football and not very strong, just put on 30 pounds this offseason, that's not going to do you any good. And that kid just really has no direction on how to do that 30 pounds. And that 30 pounds is not going to look the way that you want it to look, and they're going to get the camp and move like shit. And I've seen it so many times with kids just going on these massive bulks and skipping. Like we'd have kids skip summer football practice, like captain's practice, where we're actually working on the tactical skills because they said they didn't want to burn calories because they were required to put on weight in the off season. I'm like, it's such a stupid metric that has very little to do with your performance on the field, unless your performance on the field is already good or it's your number one missing factor. You have all your other qualities in place. You're a super fast and explosive athlete, and you're just getting pushed around on the field because you're not strong and big enough, and then we can put the hypertrophy work in. Again, it's not that hypertrophy is bad, obviously, and it's not that putting on weight to a good athlete is bad or will have a negative effect. It's that we overvalue that weight number, especially at a lot of smaller colleges and high school specifically, when that number really has no correlation to how you play on the field, which is all that matters at the end of the day, right? So let's get the second set here. Whee! All right, third set here. Let's get this bar moving. All right, last set here. The bar's starting to move the way I wish it would have moved on set 1, but that's all. We got 6 sets to do it. Let's rip. Ooh. Oh. Let's get to some cleans and squats here. Let's go. All right, now we got 6 sets of 1 clean plus 2 jerks. I was gonna skip all the jerk stuff in the program and just, whenever I said jerking, I'd pretty much cut it, but the percentages don't really make sense for the clean versus the clean and jerk. All the percentages are based off the clean and jerk, and that jerk felt like it was really working that overhead position of the snatch. So we'll just keep these in here, and we'll keep trickling in the jerk. So if we ever wanna go full Oli, at least we're building some of those jerk qualities up, and it's not trying to catch up to a 4 or 5 clean with a 200-pound jerk. So we got 6 sets at 225. Let's build up to there. All right, First set of 6 here at this 225. Really got to work on that like re-rack. After I get it up, getting that hand underneath, I feel like I'm flaying my fingers on that clean just because my front rack's not super great. I'm like having to get my finger, like my pinky feels like it's caught underneath the bar instead of keeping that pinky on and just being able to reset and push up and through. So if we can get that, we can jerk this pretty easily. With these, we're pairing our squats so the legs are going to be shot, but it's not a heavy enough clean that it should affect it. It's going to make for a wicked superset just because we're running out of time before our flight kits here. So let's get this here. Holy fuck. That jerk is gonna kill me. Oh my God, that is tough. Let's go, 5 more sets. That re-rack is absolutely destroying me. Feels like I'm gonna break my hand if I don't get it right. So I'm gonna try and keep the whole hand on the clean. I did that a little bit on the second set, but even that left hand came off a little bit before, but it's better than the first set. So whole hand on the clean, so that transition to that jerk is much easier. Let's get it. Better, holy crap. All right, we got 1 more set of squats. Those are absolutely destroying my legs. And 4 more total sets of these jerks. Let's get it. All right, final set of these squats, all at this weight, absolutely brutalizing the legs. There's definitely more squats in this program than the last program, and I think that's because KDOT was programming for me individually, whereas this program is much more of a general program where a lot of people just need to drive up their squat numbers to get their clean to go. And I think KDOT was just looking at it as I'm more of a pull issue guy rather than a squat issue guy, but it's always fun to drive up your squat, and there's never any negative to doing that. But definitely more of it in this program, more volume, more days of it. I think we squat 2 to 3 times this week alone. I'm gonna build up some beefy ass legs. Let's go. Let's go. Finish up these cleans. Last set here. I was asked what books I'm reading currently, and still crushing The Sovereign Individual. I got about 100 pages left in that book, and if you haven't read that book and you want a good prediction on where the world is going and what the internet's gonna lead to, it's kind of a really cool time capsule of people that were writing this book right before the internet launched, or right as the internet was launching, and what they predicted and where it was gonna go and how correct they were, and what that means for the rest of what they were talking about. So it's a really, really cool read. And Kier Wenham Flat recommended it to me. It's not a super light read. There's a couple chapters you read where it's like a page at a time because you feel like you want to fall asleep. But once you get to the gist of the book and the meat and potatoes of the book, it's super interesting and it's super cool the way they talk about governments, control, and why things kind of are the way they are, and how they connect that to all the historical things that have happened to lead to why governments act and have the power that they do, and where that's going to go and how that's going to change with the internet. So it's a really cool read. If you haven't read it, I really recommend it. Let's get this last set here. Motherfucker, those were hard. I thought 225 was gonna be way too light just because thinking the clean aspect, but those jerks are kicking my ass. Oh my God. And readjusting from that front rack is definitely something I have to watch a technique manual on because I'm ass at it right now and I'm just trying to catch it here so that I can press from that motion rather than catching an actual front rack and then reset there. But we got a couple core exercises before we go, and then we're gonna hop on our plane. Let's get it. All right, so to start, we just got some knee to chest here. It's gonna be a little bit more of a dead stop here, which I kind of like sometimes just to overload that top position. These are really, really spicy if you go from here and then you hit an eccentric on the way down, but we don't got that today. We're just gonna go heavy as fuck on these. We got 8 of them, let's go. Holy fuck, those are spicy. Oh my god. Definitely need some work on those. Those fucking hip flexors and abs. Sore as shit. Let's get this last rebound wrap and let's go. All right, now we got these rebound lateral GHRs. Same side bend motion that we had last week. We're just adding a little bit of velocity to these. We're gonna get our feet in here. We're gonna hug the weight like this. I'm gonna switch my head around so you can hear me. We're gonna get in a straight line out here. Hold this position just like this. Get in here. Then we're gonna relax, drop, and rebound back up just like this. Oof. 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 Fuck. Other than losing my hat on those, I freaking love this motion. That rebound will really tell you a lot about the inhibitions a lot of athletes have. There's a lot of athletes that can't turn off or trust themselves to turn off and turn back on these. And you'll see they'll just slightly go through the motion, then come back up. And for those athletes, we're just gonna regress and just go to straight back to some regular side bends in this lateral GHR position. And then as we're building them back up into these rebounds, we'll just increase the speed of that range of motion and that movement until we can progressively get to a actual relax into a contract into a rebound motion. But this one's absolute spicy. You feel a deep stretch. That is really hard to feel not doing these. So let's hit the other side, let's go. All right, that's all we got lifting wise. Let's go pick up Henry so he can drive us to the airport and we can hop on our flight. Let's get it. All right, we are rolling up to pick Henry up from his first day of school or velo with Welty. He is back to intern for Welty for a month here in the States, and it's just great to see your kids grow up right in front of you. Look at these two beauties right in front of me. Look at them. They're gonna be hyped up. Let's see it. Let's see their energy coming from velo. Let's see what they got for us. How was day one of school?
Day one of school was great, Daddy. Thank you for picking us up.
Austin, thank you.
We got YouTubeception here. Just finished up this video. Waiting for the flight. Ready to rock and roll. Just landed in Denver. Gotta go get picked up. Oh, sickening. We just got off the flight. We got stuck on the tarmac for like 40-ish minutes because they didn't have a door for us. So that's the first time that's happened to me. But I didn't get motion sickness on this flight, which is a huge key for success on the trip. Typically, I die. But this one I watched Happy Gilmore too. A little bit cringy, but it was kind of a funny, goofy movie. And then passed the fuck out after that and just woke up. So still coming back to life here. But I don't think there's much more content for today. Just waiting for the girlfriend to come pick me up. She'll drive us home. We'll eat some Chick-Fil-A and we'll get after our lifts tomorrow. Appreciate you guys watching. Keep chopping wood. Perfect workout feel.
Go to the evacuation center at